Good morning. I am so excited today to be talking about the Celo Foundation Wave 4, and we are excited for all of the applications. So we're going to bring on a couple of folks from the Celo Foundation. Sochi, thank you for joining us.
Hey, everyone.
We have Daniel.
Hello.
And Amy. Full house today. So I want to jump right in because I know that we are looking for applications that are due later this month, but if you could each go around and share what you do at the foundation and what your committee is involved for the grant process. Sochi, could you go first?
Yeah, hey everyone, happy to be here. My name is Sochi Cazador, and I lead the platform and builder growth as part of the Celo Foundation. Celo's mission is to build an open financial system that creates conditions of prosperity for all, and happy to dive in here on the grant program.
Great, thank you. And Daniel?
Hi, I'm Daniel Olarte. I support the foundation with education. So I support the educational grantees and kind of like the entire process of from application to execution of an educational grant and community grant. So I'm really excited about kind of like the future of education in crypto, making it really easy and simple to learn how to build on Celo and just onboarding the next wave of developers globally.
Great, education is really important. Amy, what about you?
Yep. My name is Amy Slauson. I actually work at Celo and support the Celo Foundation in a bit of an advisory fashion. I am a product manager on what we call our developer experience team, as well as our contracts and primitives team. So that expands developer tooling, documentation, our core contracts, the release process for those core contracts, and governance process to update that, and primitives such as identity and off-chain storage. And yeah, just excited to be here and support the Celo Foundation. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. And Kevin, what is your role on the grants committee?
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. I am Kevin Thariel, and yeah, at the Celo Foundation, I lead the grants program. And what I do on a day-to-day basis, I work with different stakeholders in the ecosystem and try to understand the gaps that act as barriers for builders and also Celo users. The grants program as such tries to fill this gap. And with regard to the current wave and the wave programs that we have at the Celo Foundation, I wear the hat of a project manager, helping coordinate the application process, help in reviewing, scheduling interviews, doing the grant awards and DD. So I'm really looking forward to the session and excited to join you all today.
Well, great. Let's jump right in. Kevin, I'm interested. Could you describe a little bit about the Celo Foundation and the mission and the vision of kind of the grant committee and past waves as well as this current wave? Just an overall, I hear you have some slides to share with us too.
Yeah, sure. Let me just quickly share my screen.
And a shameless plug, if you want to keep updated on any recent Celo Grants news, you can do hashtag Celo Grants on Twitter. And you can also go onto our Discord, and we have a grants channel in there as well.
Can you see my screen?
We can indeed.
Okay, great. So I just have a few slides, not a lot. So just diving directly into what the foundation grants does. I think a lot of you know that the mission of Celo is to build an open financial system that creates conditions of prosperity for all. And the thesis for the foundation grants program is nothing but enabling those projects and those builders to actually further this mission. And that's what we are trying to do across all the grant waves that so far has been supported through the Celo Foundation. So far we've had we have had 3 waves of grants, and we have more than 90 projects. We have allocated close to 4.9 million USD worth value of grants. And in this particular wave, we are planning to sort of continue with the same focus, and the drive for us is to sort of look at the grants from 4 buckets, so to speak. So we have grants that support the ecosystem, which sort of looks at advancing, the ecosystem through, for example, promoting the use of Celo, from getting more builders to actually, find it easier to build. Technical and research, there are different products that we try to focus on to strengthen the support, to strengthen the Celo protocol. So, and here again, the focus is on trying to get more builders to easily build through developer tooling. We also have focus on research. So, for example, in this particular way, we are looking at how we can create framework for issuing local currencies, for issuing bonds on the Celo platform. And when we're looking at the research component, that has been something that's also something that we are trying to drive more in this wave. Then we have the education community piece. So the idea here is to try and make the knowledge and the information available as much as possible. So examples of this is trying to find out how we can engage more communities across the world. Celo has users as well as builders, not just in the Western world, but we are focused in emerging markets. We are, for example, in this particular way, we are looking at getting tutorials translated in multiple languages. So that's another focus, and also social impact. So we also do a lot of research and innovation projects, pilot projects with some well-known nonprofits, as well as social entrepreneurs who are working on issues like micro work and UBI. So broadly speaking, these are the sort of categories I would say that the Celo Foundation focuses on. I think we can sort of touch base more on the specific priorities that we have in this way. But yeah, I think for now I'll just leave it here.
Thank you for showing us all of those. I'm curious, for past grantees, could you talk about each of them, of like one from social impact, one that's education, one that's technical, and one that's ecosystem or support? I'm happy to bring other people on too if you guys want to jump in with examples of those.
Yeah. I can quickly just mention social impact, and probably we can sort of go into have others also involved. So, for example, like in social impact, we work with organizations like Impact Market, Grameen, and what we do here is that we support the usage of Celo, trying to figure out how we can actually give universal basic income and try to make that as a use case using the Celo platform. So here, the Celo platform has the protocol, and also there is the mobile app, which also acts as a wallet. And the idea is to try to see how we can, directly give access to beneficiaries, to people who do not otherwise have the means to access crypto as well as financial resources. So, one, you get access to a stable value asset on your phone. And second, you get basic income through which you can sort of do multiple things. You can cash out at a local shop where which is another aspect of our ecosystem development. And you can also sort of figure out how to sort of do a bit of work and earn some income through some of the micro work based projects that we're doing. So yeah, I mean, this is sort of a bit of a balance of what we do in social impact. I'm wondering if anyone else wants to sort of take the stage and talk a bit about ecosystem. Sochi, do you want to chime in?
Unmute myself. Yes, happy to jump in on some examples of ecosystem support. So I think one really great example is Ponto. And so they're working on how do they reduce the barriers to entry, specifically with cash in and cash out. And so I think that's a great example of it. Another example in ecosystem support would be Corsali, which is providing micro work, right? So this is a way to begin to perform tasks on your phone and receive payments directly through their application and Valora, which is a great way of really just, I think, looking at how we're addressing some of the existing challenges that people have, like with COVID and unemployment rates. I think is like a big aspect of this as well. Those are two that immediately come to mind, but we'll turn it over to Daniel to talk about some exciting education grants as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of examples that I'm really excited about. And that are somewhat related to kind of like the themes of things we would like to see in this next round. So one example that had lots of success was Figment Learn. Figment is already a platform that serves different networks with staking services, building services, and other features. But they put together a Learn product where they do tutorials and they incentivize users to take those tutorials. It was just super exciting to see the amount of engagement they got and just how people got involved. And from that process, we even saw a few developers who started to take those tutorials and ended then taking or participating at a hackathon. So things of that nature are exciting to me. Then we have a good example in Blockchain Academy Chile of a team that is not only translating some of the documentation to Spanish in this case, but also creating their own kind of like technical education, kind of like a Celo 101 kind of course where they are trying to take people from learning the basic knowledge of Web3 technologies, blockchain, Ethereum, and then all the way to kind of like learning how to develop something on Celo. That program is exciting because on top of that, they are going to run a few workshops for those who are more interested, want to keep learning and diving deeper into the technology, and then they will have a hackathon at the end. So that format of technical education and a hackathon that like brings together community is also very exciting to me, especially if it takes place in a region, right? In one of these emerging markets that we're excited about, and where we have presence, users, and so on. And but by the way, those two projects that I just mentioned, if you guys follow us on Instagram, I will be doing a live room with them, just asking them a few questions about how, like, what they're trying to do, how they apply to the grants program, and what they have learned so far. Yeah, there's more examples, but yeah.
Yeah, I love Learn. That's actually how I learned a lot about Moola Market, was all of those tutorials that they were doing for the Celo ecosystem. We have a question, Daniel, that I would love to hear your thoughts on. So what if an application touches multiple areas, such as education and ecosystem support?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So first, there is going to be a field in the form, the application form, where you self-select a category. And my advice there is to select the category that makes your proposal strong. Then we'll evaluate all the proposals, and we'll notice that certain applications kind of like serve different purposes. So I would just say that this is going to work in your benefit. Like, this is going to make a proposal stronger. We have this vision of kind of like developing hubs or circles in different regions, and we would like to see teams in the different regions doing more than just one of these categories we're presenting in the grants, right? Like, it will be lovely to see teams doing supporting the ecosystem at the same time that they're supporting web education for their own particular community, at the same time that they are creating spaces for that community, right? So teams that they are like an octopus and have a bunch of tentacles doing a bunch of work, that's really exciting to me. But I will let others answer the question if I missed something.
I like of picking the strong choice. So that's, I'll reiterate that. Kevin, do you have anything as being the kind of project manager that you would want to add as far as if you touch multiple points, which one that you should select?
Multiple points as in terms of application?
Yeah, areas. If you
Okay.
are also, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we have this link on Submittable that we use for applications, so there are a couple of things, right? Like I'm sure there will be people who have questions on the applications. Some things may not be clear. So what I would definitely advise folks is to reach out to us on Discord. So Discord is a great forum for us to not just get in touch about direct queries, but even if you have like ideas that you think are wild, but you are looking for support, as well as maybe engaging the community, feel free to just drop by and just post it there. I think I can maybe also just give an overview of the application process. So we have a deadline, which is June 18th. There is a link on Submittable, which I think we can also just cross post if possible. I will just find the link for you after I stop talking. It's pretty straightforward. We just need you to fill a form. We ask you a few questions just to sort of get you also to start thinking about how exactly the impact of your proposal will have on the Celo ecosystem, as well as what you are possibly could be building on. And I think once we are sort of done with this stage of application, we have an evaluation, an internal committee which reviews it. And what we hope to do is, we will try to get the announcements done by July 21st. So just to give you context, like last wave, it took us some time because we had more than 170 applications, and we took the time to actually go through all of them and review them, and and try to see which ones sort of really fit the needs of the ecosystem at that time. And I think what we're going to be seeing now is, we will be focusing more on trying to be more responsive in terms of getting the response out sooner, because we have more sort of dedicated resource for that. But to keep it short, Discord, happy to answer questions directly or on the channel.
Great. Yeah, Discord, and keep on commenting with your questions. And we actually have a node question, so I would love to bring Amy in here. So Amy, we have a question on what exactly are we interested in regards to block explorers?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like this is one that we've been trying to, we've gone through several iterations of what is the best way to approach this. We currently have our own block explorer at C Labs that we are maintaining, which is called Block Scout. But definitely open to see like what other, we're exploring other block explorers in the ecosystem to see what our developers are most keen to use. A lot of our developers are coming from the Ethereum community and are used to certain block explorers from that community. So we're actively exploring other opportunities. I think for tooling opportunities in general, I think the data processing, node gateways, custody, these are all things that further help the developers. So and abstract some of that complexity and provide them like tooling to a layer of tooling to build further abstractions on top of. So these are all things that definitely keen to see what comes in through the pipeline of grant applications.
Thank you for bringing that up. I would love to bring everyone in because this is a great question about, making sure that we reach everyone and at all skill sets. So we have a question of talking about, what if you're looking into markets and you don't have a lot of the developer experience on the Celo side? What advice do you have? And this is for everyone.
Yeah. I'm happy to start and then open it up for the rest of everyone. So I think the beauty of the grant program is that, there are many different ways to engage, right? There is the community and education focused grants, which, really is all about like, how do we nurture local communities, right? How do we kind of spread awareness? How do we begin to educate people on Celo more broadly? And so I think that's a great way for folks that are perhaps like non-technical or non-developers to kind of plug in into the grant program. The other areas like ecosystem support or some of the technical and research grants do tend to be kind of more technically focused, right? So looking for applicants there that, have launched a product or, have some evidence of success or are looking at doing some level of technical research. But I think that community and education really part of the portfolio is I would say where best to plug in for some of kind of the non-technical folks that are interested in contributing to the Celo ecosystem.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that because this question is great because this is almost exactly kind of like the strategy behind education and community grants, right? We ask ourselves this question too. And I think for us, what matters here is to make Celo truly accessible at so many levels. And that includes different levels of expertise in blockchain or Web3. So anything, and you'll see when you see education, the kind of like the RFP is broad enough to include education that could serve or community grants that could serve kind of like people that can fall in the category of users of your products, all the way through to developers, core community, people who are deeply involved in the blockchain space, working for other platforms or communities. Kind of like education can serve all those different kind of like tiers. And to that point, I think that could potentially support developers as they are interested in new markets, right? So that's why we have a deep kind of like interest in what we call localized content, which can mean content in different languages, but can also mean content for your specific community if you are in a particular region.
Great, thank you for outlining that. I have another technical question. So Amy, you're up for this. Would offering a public RPC access, including historical data, be helpful to developer community? Secondly, finally, as an experienced chain link node operator, could we support Celo with Oracle jobs?
Yeah, I think I touched on this a little in that node gateways is definitely an area our developers prefer to have support on. Not all developers want to run their own node. So one player in our ecosystem, Figment, actually has Data Hub where they provide a node as a service, but we are actively exploring other options because developers like to have options. And so definitely would be interested in seeing those. And then as far as Oracle, I think I lost the question on the screen, so I'm just trying to dig it back up. Operating oracles. So that is something we're still at C-Labs actively thinking about. How do we decentralize oracles and provide ways in which others can contribute and run oracles for us? I'm not the expert on where our status is on that, but I would definitely encourage you to reach out on Discord and we can find that out.
My favorite comment from that, Amy, was developers like options. So we can always have that. We can have that on a t-shirt. I would love to hear from Kevin again of just, I don't know if you can just be more specific on what is the application process. Do they need to have like a proof of concept? Do you need to upload all of this documentation? Is it pretty easy? You can even, if you want to screen share, you can, but just outlining like how long that would take someone to fill out.
Yeah, so what we typically ask in the form is what essentially would be what we would ask once you actually get a grant, which is essentially what we call in technical parlance a scoping doc. So essentially, what we are trying to understand is what is the project. So among the RFP categories that we have outlined, there are 10 categories, And all you need to do is choose the closest category that your grant application comes under. And it takes a bit of time in terms of you to enter information about how much resources you will be requiring for executing the project. How would you measure the success of your application going forward? This helps us, if you think from a review panel perspective, to understand what would be the impact and the sort of long-standing thinking that you're having for the Celo ecosystem, and that's the reason why that section probably will take a bit of time. But the other things, they are pretty straightforward. They just we ask you to sort of open yourself up in terms of how you think about the idea that you have, and we sort of want to see more of your personality there. So I would sort of divide the application into two stages. One is sort of this broad understanding of you as a builder, as an entrepreneur, and one more in terms of trying to measure what kind of impact this would have. And this is more in terms of helping us evaluate for the ecosystem how this project would be beneficial. So I think it should not take more than half an hour. That is my hope, and I think especially I think it's mostly for the section where we ask how you would measure impact, the success criteria, so we call, as well as a bit of the financial, where you probably need to spend a bit of time thinking. But yeah, a half an hour is the tops, I would say.
Half an hour is great. I would love to ask everyone if you could give a piece of advice in the application process, what would you have for them?
I can start. There is a section in the application process in the application form where you can submit a video. Sadly, not too many teams submit videos. People end up completing the application at the end always, and video is the last thing they think about. But I guess my advice is to use every single opportunity you have to present your idea. The form is designed so you have kind of like specific questions that you have to answer, but then look at the entire application as an opportunity for you to tell a story, and especially about that video. That doesn't have to be high production. It can just be you recording yourself on your phone and then submit that. But use every single opportunity you have to tell the story. That's my advice.
I can go next. Oftentimes, we will receive applications for grants that are very large requests in terms of grant amounts, but not a lot of detail that supports that, right? And so I think that if your grant application is a significant amount of money, I would really make sure that you're providing details in terms of how you're estimating that, right? Is it based on headcount? Is there a component of it that involves marketing? Is there a piece of it that is more like hardware or technical related? So I think providing details around that. And then I think with any grant, no matter the size, like we're always interested in really understanding kind of what the success criteria is. Like, how do you measure the success of that grant, right? Is it, and what is the impact to the Celo ecosystem? Does that translate into more people that are engaged in the Celo ecosystem, as in, holders, builders, whatever it may be. But I think and always we can get, creative with it, but I think really understanding kind of like how success is measured is like another big piece of it.
Kevin, do you have anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I think those were some really important points. And I think one thing I would definitely add is engage, because, Grounds is just one forum for being part of the Celo ecosystem. We have multiple other forums. We have the Celo Camp, we have hackathons and incubator that we keep doing. We also now have a founder in residence program. So I think once you sort of start engaging with the community, either via Discord or through the other avenues, I think I don't have the count on my fingers, but there are so many developers and entrepreneurs who actually just started, having conversations on Discord, going through Celo Camp, and ended up landing a grant. If we know you, if we know what you're building, and if our team and our ecosystem and our community members trust you, it's something that it will just happen anyway. So that's something that I would keep in mind when you're actually thinking about grants as well.
That's great. So all in all, tell a story, be detailed. What is your success criteria? Remember, we're community-based. These are beautiful things. We are going to wrap up, but I would love to hear from you on what is the one thing that you hope for when you look through the applications that you're like, I really hope I see this. What is that one thing? Daniel, I see you smiling, so I'm gonna ask you to go first.
I have prepared a massive list for this question. The one thing is just to maybe keep in your minds that education in crypto is kind of like a green field. We haven't figured it out. There's tons of opportunities, tons of need. It's learning crypto is really hard. It's a very high barrier. So anything that can help us overcome that is really exciting.
Yeah. I'd really love to see people reframe DeFi and this concept of DeFi for good. So creative ways that perhaps gives back to our environment or gives back to communities or engages people that are not in the top 1%, which I think are some of the individuals that are benefiting from it largely today. And so I'm really looking for applications that sort of reframe it in terms of this concept of DeFi for good.
Yeah, and this was going to be for my answer for the previous question as recommendation, but this is also what I look for in applications is either, and I'm gonna cheat and say three things, but it's either traction, expertise, or impact, and whether the project, when investing in a project, what is there some demonstrated traction that the project already has, or is there a reason that if it's just an idea that you can demonstrate your expertise, that you can actually build that traction and be successful? And what is that and impact, back to what Sochi was mentioning, when we think of our mission of Celo and bringing financial tooling to the rest of the world, how does your role and your application play into that mission?
Yeah, and I would just sort of wrap it up by saying details. We like details because it tells us more about what you are building, how you're going to be building, why you are motivated to build that. Also details regarding the resources that are required, how we will be measuring success. It just makes the job of a reviewer much easier, for one. But also, I think in terms of your own thinking process, it really gets our attention that okay, this is a project that is going to do a great job, going to do a great job in this ecosystem. So details would be lovely.
Hear that, everyone? Details, all the questions. Well, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that applications are due June 18th, so you have some time. If you have questions, you can hit us up on Twitter, #CeloGrants, or go on the grant channel in Discord. But thank you each for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.